Hi, this is Ian Berry, and this is another Sparker Nation conversation. And for those of you that may not know about Sparker Nations, a Sparker Nation is a spark that ignites passion, that leads to action, that changes what's normal. And today I'm thrilled because I'm with my daughter, Jessica, who has been exploring and teaching meditation for what, 20 years or so, Jessica?
Yeah, that's right.
And she has a new program called Tuning In, which I'm really excited about. And we're going to do, Jessica's going to host something with a live audience soon. And we thought we'd do a little preview of what Tuning In is all about.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome, my dear. And
hello. Lovely to see you.
I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. So what my real intention here is to kind of lift the lid on meditation and just have a look under the bonnet about what that really means, because there's a lot of ideas about what meditation means. And I think those concepts set us apart and separate us from something that is actually our true nature. So because we've all been raised in this world where we have strategy to go about our lives,
yeah,
and we think that we're against each other, and we think that we have to have outcomes from whatever we do. So this also puts us in mind that meditation needs to be an outcome. So you need to achieve a goal with meditation. You need to win at it.
Yeah.
You know? So
yeah,
this really...
Mindfulness has become a business instead of a practice.
Yeah, so this isn't about productivity or outcomes. This is about our true nature, which it doesn't matter if you're a business person or if you're an artist or you're a homeless person or whatever you're doing in life, this is our equal true nature.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah. So I'd love to lead you through a little process that just, it is a meditation in itself, but it's a meditation that is kind of looking in the back end of meditation at the same time. Okay. So I invite you to leave your eyes open or closed, as you prefer. Yeah, and just coming into, close your eyes.
I do a bit of both, actually.
Yeah, just be relaxed about that. And we're going to use our breathing as a gateway. So our breathing and our heartbeat are here as a metronome in our lives. Something that is always available. That's very convenient, because anytime you want to stop to tune in, you can use this gateway of your breathing in your direct body experience.
We all have a unique rhythm, eh?
So come into a connection with your breathing. And the way that we connect with our breathing is to directly experience it. So become fascinated with everything about breathing. You're feeling your chest rise and fall. You're listening to your in and out breaths. And just noticing here that as you bring your attention to breathing, your breathing will naturally slow down. And it will naturally become rhythmical. And this is attunement. So anytime we bring our attention to something, we are attuning with it. So just tuning into your breathing right now, the entire rhythm, this body experience that is with us till we leave the body. Engaging in your chest, rising and falling. And feeling this natural rhythm of the breathing is like the sea flowing in and out. And as you breathe, bring your attention to your heart beating inside your chest. And you can feel a response. As you turn your attention to your heart, feel that your heart has attention with you. This is attunement, and this is coming into resonance. So you can feel your heart beating in your chest, and just noticing that as you put your attention on your heartbeat, it slows and becomes more rhythmical, just like the breath. You can feel your heart pulsing in your hands. I invite you to bring your attention to your hands for a moment and just feel this pulse. As you feel it in your chest, feel it corresponding in your hand. And now bring your attention to your feet. As you feel your feet against the floor, feel that same dynamic pulsing of your heartbeat in your feet, in your toes. And now just bringing your attention to your sense of body, the sense of a shape. Just be curious about extending your attention beyond the sense of shape that you have. And as you feel this expansiveness, just note how you experience that feeling, expanding beyond your body shape. Resting and at ease in the breathing. Just feeling the sense of your attention expanding. Now, if I was to ask you to point at your center, where would you point? So as you point, feel that your center comes to your pointing. Feel the attunement. Noticing and abiding just in this center. Allowing the breathing to breathe. The heart beats on its own. The body sits in the chair. And here we are in our center. So just breathing into this sense of center. Now, I'll invite you to just return your attention to me while still keeping yourself in this sense of your center. So can you feel yourself in your center?
Yeah.
At the same time as we're talking to each other?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we'll just do some exercises on our attention.
Yes, it was a good, amazing experience. I felt several levels of getting slower.
Mm.
Hmm.
Hmm. So the main exercise here is that your center is eternal.
Yeah.
So everything else is transient. And we can test this.
Yeah.
So your name, Ian Berry. So your parents gave you that name.
Yeah.
And my parents, you gave me my name.
Yeah.
So this is transient. So we know that this is not ourself.
No.
And so what we do in life, it's important and it's how we serve, but it's not ourself. Because we can see that what we do can change over life. We might even change our name. But what remains if we change our name? What remains if we change what we do? And so we can also remove a sense of time from that. So you've got the rhythm of the day and the rhythm of the events that you stick to in your life, your schedules, your phone, our phones. But we don't need this to know ourselves either. So we can see that what's with us is this sense of our center. Because you can access that anywhere. And it's something that's unchanging.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the place that I've eventually got to is where I get to in my normal breath meditation practice. This was just another pathway that I enjoyed and valued. Yeah. Because we often live our lives, I've found, at a faster pace than our actual rhythm. That was me for a long time. I'm not too bad at staying within my own rhythm these days, but it was a struggle for a long time.
Because we've all been trained to focus on outcomes.
Yeah, and time.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to have this done by then.
But it's all a construct.
Yeah, it is.
Nothing needs to be done unless you want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this way, we become slaves to our own constructs. We forget that we made them up.
We do. Our whole existence is one of make-believe.
Yeah, and that can be a thing of beauty, creativity, joyfulness, and even the things that are sad and challenging are part of it. But to always come back to that center, who is here in this experience?
Yeah.
So I just want to talk about the way we experience thoughts and the way we experience feelings attached to thoughts. So I'm just going to make a statement.
Yeah.
And I want you to feel into the truth of the statement. And then feel any way that you feel blocked around this statement. So the statement is, I am free.
I am free.
So just feel into that. And noticing in your body any feelings that come up and any thoughts that sprang to mind in response to that. And you can share with me.
Yeah, I'm not really, I don't really have any blockages in this area. I do feel free.
So what does it feel like?
It feels natural. I think once upon a time it used to feel forced. You know, because I was pushing away thoughts. Whereas now when I said to myself, I am free, I didn't have any thoughts. I just was in that, sitting in the fact that I'm free. I didn't have any thoughts.
And was there a body experience or?
Yeah, I would describe it as sort of loose, just kind of
Mm. Would you,
hanging in there sort of thing, in a positive way.
would you
Yeah.
describe it as open?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or expanding?
That could be something that's worth. I think I've got there's a thing in the business world about growth, which I personally think is rubbish.
Mm.
This idea that we're going to continually grow regardless of the consequences.
Okay.
And so when I think about expanding myself, I get a bit of a blockage about growth.
Okay, so let's tune into that. That's great.
Yeah.
So let's tune into I'm not enough as I am.
That to me is not true, because I am enough.
So what is it that knows it's not true?
What is it that?
How do you know that that's not true?
Well,
And just be curious and playful with this, like really investigate. What is it that knows that that's not true?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a blank, because I believe I am enough. So I don't.
So it's a matter of noticing the resonance of it.
Yeah.
That's how we know whether things are true. So when I say to you, I'm not enough as I am, inside there's kind of a like clang.
Yeah, no,
Right?
I kind of, I want to, debate that with you, I guess. But I know that's not needed. So
yeah, but you can feel your body has a response, which is something like
there's kind
clang.
There's an angst.
Yeah, and what's that?
A bit of a tightening, I guess.
So that just feels like contraction.
Yeah, so it took me away from feeling loose and having a nice rhythm. All of a sudden I tightened up and got faster.
Yeah. So you can see now, if we refer back to when I said I am free, and for you personally, that feels open.
Yeah.
You slowed down and you felt a resonance, meaning that's true.
Yeah.
In the way that you responded to that. And then when I made a statement which you immediately knew wasn't true, your experience was contraction, closing, and as you said, speeding up as well, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it kind of threw me off my rhythm in a way. Yeah, I think, as we might have talked about in another place, I've been practicing and learning how to hold my beliefs lightly, but also not be reacting to other people's beliefs that don't align with mine. To just go with it.
So the next natural thing to go with, we've discovered, what does it feel like for a thought that feels expansive and open?
Yeah.
And then what does it feel like for a thought that feels contracted and limiting?
Yes.
And now we can sit in, what does it feel like to notice either one of those feelings and not need to fight with it?
I think that's tremendously freeing.
Yeah.
Because one path, the positive, productive path, when I feel in alignment, there's a joy that's attached to that. And when I've got angst, there's a sorrow to that. So there's my body feels different.
And so we can see that there's no crime in a response.
No.
So you just had a really natural response to those two statements.
Yeah.
But there's no crime in it.
No.
That was just your truth meter giving you information about that thought.
Yes.
And so quite often we are trained to be reactionary to energies.
Yeah.
So every single thing in the world has this tone to it. And because we're into storytelling, we get really immersed in the meaning of the storytelling. But we're turning away from our natural responses to things, and we're getting lost in the meaning of the storytelling. So if you imagine, when you watch a movie and you're really engaged in it, and you're sitting there and you're looking at a square rectangle for 2 hours with flickering images on it, and you might cry, you might laugh, you might feel your heart beating in panic, depending what the story is. But the whole time you're just staring at a box with moving colors and images and sounds and symbols that have meaning to you. And then when you turn off the television, you return to your sense of your world in your lounge room or wherever you are, and you might go to the toilet or have a cup of tea, and you've kind of returned to your consciousness. You may still feel affected by the storytelling in the movie, but you've kind of turned back in to your sense of, oh, I'm a character now. I'm not the character in the movie. So I see it as a parallel to when we get immersed in our thinking. We believe in the storytelling that the thoughts are presenting us with. So, someone who might get stuck in a depressive state, their thoughts are generally things like, I don't feel good enough. I can't do that thing that's needed of me. I really need to pay my bills, but I'm not able to. And that's because I've never been able to have a good job. And my dad didn't like me. He left home early. And I never had a role model to show me how to be disciplined with work. And you can feel all of this is storytelling. That's all you can feel in each of those statements that I said. For someone who's feeling in a depressed energy, it's contracting.
Well, it's the story we're telling ourselves, isn't it? Which is just our take on what happened. It probably isn't what happened. It's just our take on what happened.
And so all that's happening is that you are responding to the tone of the thought, very much like in our example.
Yeah.
You're responding to it, and the only response you're having is, this is not true. So when you have the thought, oh, no one ever loved me, no one really cared for me, and inside you feel like clang, clang, contraction, your whole body starts to shrink in on itself. That's just your beautiful system saying to you, that's not true. And that's all.
Yeah.
But for some reason, we keep pushing the button. No one ever cared for me, clang.
I think that's because we forget who we are at the center.
So we're stuck in the movie.
Yeah.
So we've identified with the story because we're actually empathic beings.
Yes. I had an interesting conversation with Alan Parker the other day, where he talks about that a lot of our responses are what he calls episodic episodes. So we kind of remember the episode.
Yeah. And these are patterns.
And there's a pattern.
Yeah.
And or a trigger.
And so once you know that you've become immersed in a storytelling and you've forgotten who you are, you can come back to your center so easily because it's always there.
Yeah.
It's something that can't be lost.
No, I think often we, in our worst moments, we don't always remember that. So we sort of hang in the bad.
Yeah.
Instead of just going back to the center and realign, or as you're saying, tuning in to our true self.
So what is it that makes some thoughts sticky? Yeah. So for you, when I said I am free, And what is your response to that? When I've done that with other people, they felt pain and contraction around it because in some way they feel that they're not free.
Yeah, I once would have had that reaction too.
Yeah, so for them that was sticky. For you right now, it doesn't have any stickiness to it. It just feels natural and relaxed. So the curiosity comes in life when something affects you and you become immersed in it. It's just sticky for you.
Yeah. Yeah, nice word to describe it.
Yeah, and so that's not a crime either.
No.
So let's say you fell in a pool of honey and you were stuck in it. Would that be your fault that honey was sticky?
No.
It wouldn't be.
No, but we would probably take it as our fault.
Yeah. So it's just,
or think about our stupidity or whatever.
Yeah, which is adding to the pain.
Yeah.
And in a sense, you can see that as magnification. So once something is sticky, the habit is to magnify it. And in a way, you can see that as a zoom lens. So let's say you get stuck in a thought, which has you're confused as to whether it's true. It feels painful. So you know that it's not true, but your attention doesn't want to leave it alone. You're stuck in it.
Yeah, sticky, nice.
Yeah. And so you can love that it's sticky. It's okay, it's not a crime. And then you can come into curiousness. Why is this sticky for me?
Yeah, I think that's a nice sort of thing rather than dwell in being stuck, to be curious about. That's a nice pathway back to the center, actually. Curiosity.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we explore our center, we can think about it as a state of allowing. So if you tune into your center now, if you point to your center,
yeah,
and just feel your center coming toward your pointing. What would you say it feels like there from this perspective?
It feels calm. There's a fair amount of certainty here as well. There's also love there.
And so if we were to talk about love without the sense of like your wife or your children or your dog or reading or your hobbies, or if we were just to be curious about what love might mean in a really basic sense, it just feels like allowing. So it feels like there's no blockages there.
Yeah, love means no conditions.
Yeah, so
no rules.
And so for a lot of people, different words have different stickiness to them. And so you can test in yourself, like, which words feel sticky to you. And then when you find
in a positive or negative way, or both?
Well, let's say you say it feels unconditional. But then someone might feel like they've failed at unconditional love. It feels impossible. And so they immediately will feel a contraction there, like, oh, that's impossible. No one can love unconditionally because it's challenging for us. But if you go back into your center and check, it's just this openness. Like it feels like it's just okay with everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, sort of love in that sense is it love's a feeling that has
Mm.
many possible descriptors.
So if you could say that, like, the nature of our center is love,
Yeah,
but that means openness, allowing, flowing. These are all words that describe expansiveness. Because words are just pointing.
yes, yeah. I've got flow in my on the tip of my tongue at the moment.
So now let's just sit with how words are just pointing. So when we say flow, it's really easy to get lost in all of the sticky notes around a word that each one of us has.
Yeah,
But you can feel the word behind the symbol with your center.
yes,
So it's kind of like touching it and or tasting it, whatever your own way of being with things. You just taste it and you can feel how that's different to all the kind of sticky notes around the meaning of a word.
yeah. Nice metaphor. I like that idea of, because when immediately you've got, you know, I can see all these possible sticky notes around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can feel those sticky notes as well. Like when someone says something that triggers you, it's like, oh, there's all this kind of stuff that makes you feel contracted. Like you want to get away. That's why your heart starts to speed up, because the body's like, run away, like leave this. But really you're not leaving it at all. You're about to expand it because you disagree with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's how we magnify things. We disagree with them. It's really funny because your response, like the contraction in your body and this sense of like clang, that tells you it's not true. But then we want to fight with something being not true. Yeah, like it's not allowed. Which is really, really funny. And so you can feel into why would we fight? Why would we want to fight with things that feel untrue? That's just something interesting.
I think it's just because we're conditioned to, you know, want to be in conflict or disagreement, or it's kind of, I'm noticing that here in Australia at the moment, because we've got a new government and they're being very calm and civil, whereas the previous one weren't, in my view. And the difference is palpable. And you can kind of sense it. And I'm excited that if that continues, you know, there'll be so many good things happen, because we've had an absence of civility. And we all kind of feel that, and that kind of makes us, you know, go inside, contract even more, because when we hear the, you know, the language and the kind of, you know, the wanting to have conflict or, you know, whatever, I kind of go, oh, I don't want that.
Yeah. So we've got this truth meter inside us, which tells us that's expanding or it's contracting. But when you feel yourself feel something that's contracting, is it allowed by your center? Is our center at war with it? Or is it just seen as experience? We can test it. So think of something that makes you mad.
I'm every time I do get frustrated or angry, I'm trying to be curious about what that means, why that's happening.
So
rather than sit with the emotion, more be curious about how it came about.
So let's just explore what it's like let's see if our center objects to when we have our system give us a notification, clang, that's not true, or open, that feels good and true. So that's duality.
Yeah.
We've got a system that says, that's off, or like, that feels good. So we preference the one that feels good, and we want to reject the one that feels bad. But what does a rejection bring? It brings magnification.
Yes.
Which,
but that's a decision though, really, isn't it? We could decide to not magnify.
so how do we decide that with guaranteed integrity? So we go into our center and just check it.
Yeah.
Is this allowed to be?
I think it's kind of being practiced and disciplined enough to do that in the moment.
Yeah, so once you've kind of opened yourself up to curiosity, and you can give yourself these curious promptings. So words like, interesting. You know, when having the space of mind, which comes through regular meditation, and all meditation means is just stopping.
Yeah.
And giving space.
I love that Benjamin Zander idea. When someone plays a wrong note, he says, "How fascinating."
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rather than, why weren't you paying attention, or whatever how fascinating.
If we want to live on Earth with no war, we have to become skilled at not being at war.
Yes, we do. Yeah.
And so all of us have learned to be at war
with ourselves included.
With our experience.
Yeah.
And so if we all become masters of not being at war with experience, then there'll be no need to have war outpictured into the world.
What an insight.
Yeah,
Powerful.
Yeah. So it's so simple as well. We can just see, let's say you walk past a dog turd, and you might think, that should be cleaned up. Or you might just be able to go, well, a turd stinks. That's in its nature. But I don't have to go to battle with the turd. I could just clean it up.
Yeah.
Or I could keep walking because I know it's compostable. So it's really good to just check in when you have that response. You're like, clang, that's sticky, or I'm in resistance to that, or it's simply not true. Yeah. But in what way am I thinking that I have to go to battle with it?
Yes,
so this triggers people to think about social justice issues, because there's the idea that to be a warrior for justice, so we need to go to battle for justice. The trouble is that different people have different ideas about what is just.
Yeah.
So one side believes that their war is justified, and another side believes their war is justified, and they both create propaganda to justify their justifications. And so in a sense, you could say they're both right, or they both feel justified.
Yeah. I think that the situation with, say Putin at the moment, I don't in any way, shape or form condone what he's doing, but I understand.
You can see that he believes in it.
I can see how he would believe that. He thinks, he feels boxed in by the West.
Yeah, so everything he's saying is his truth. You can see that.
Yeah, it is.
And so people may not agree with it, but that's his justification. And then, you have every other side of a war.
Yeah.
which feels very passionate and justified. And we feel it in ourselves when we go to war with on our own level.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
We feel really justified.
So when we get some people in the room, how's our conversation going to be? It's going to be like the conversation you and I have just had, or?
Yeah. So what happens when you get more people in the room is you get more varied experience.
Yes.
And so that gives us the opportunity to be curious about everyone else's experience. And what happens is that we co-attune. So when we go into a center place together, we're actually naturally connected.
Okay. Well, that
And
sounds like a great thing, as well as being a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think because it's so the funniness of how we are as humans, when we really come in to shine a light on the funny stuff that we do, like
yeah, we're a quirky bunch. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, because we get so invested in our stuff and we're very serious about it.
Yes.
But when you pull back and start to go, hang on, like, and be really open to being curious about it, it's actually pretty funny.
Yeah, it's also a wonderful way to have a conversation. So I think we might kind of end it there, Jess. What do you think? And
yeah,
look, folks that are watching, I'll put some details around when we're going to invite you. It'll be sometime next month, I think, in July, and we'll put the details underneath this video.
Great.
And we'll put some contact details and so on.
Thanks for tuning in with me, Dad.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Thanks.